So how's your Christmas break? Or Christmas?
Good. My sister's in town, so it's good.
So as you guys head into your non-conference finale, where do you think this team is right now?
I think right now, over the break, well, first of all, to answer your question, they get to be normal. You lose a couple, your confidence. I'm worried about the guys' confidence a little bit. My job's to worry about these guys. And whatever I can do to help them play better. Obviously, we're trying to get better. We're building. There's things we got to improve on. But you got a lot of young players, and obviously they want to do well. So you worry about a little bit about our confidence as a team collectively, and then certain individuals. I think that's important. It's something you got to try to, hopefully we can get a little of that back on Saturday against Fullerton. And just, try to help them through the psyche part of that, of what we're, everything we're going through I anticipated, but they didn't. All teams think, hey, in preseason practice, man, we're going to work hard, practice, and win them all. It just doesn't work out that way. So, and then young players, too, they don't really understand what they're going to go through. And then when it happens to them, you got to help them get through that hump, like a guy like Tiger, for example.
Especially a lot of these young guys, they're used to winning a lot in high school.
Yeah, and used to playing a lot better than statistically they may be playing now. So yeah, that's a hump you got to help them with. It is, So it's two things happen usually. There's three things. You could have a guy that's an elite freshman, but most young guys struggle. Then you have to help them fight through it. Eventually, they become the player they want to become. That's the main thing. Or they don't play a lot when they're young. In programs that are, if your program's more established, it's harder for a freshman to get minutes if he's coming in behind guys that are productive upperclassmen. So then you got to help him deal with the fact that he's not playing. But on this team, it's guys are playing. It's just that, they're not who they were in high school, but they're not playing against who they were playing against in high school. So that's there for the adjustment in the situation you're in. So helping them through that mentally is a big part of it. But the real thing over the holiday breaks, like I tell the guys, you get extra practice time. You don't have the same constraints or limits, and we've got to become a better team. The real teams, and as you build, programs that build, you use this time to get better. You got more time to watch film. You got more time to reflect on who you are. You've played enough games to realize what your strengths are, what your weaknesses are, and get better at trying to eliminate those weaknesses.
You've alluded to the fact that you don't want to look back at last season, you want to look forward, but you just mentioned confidence. Does it help boost their confidence knowing that defense has improved from what they've been used to the last few seasons?
Maybe, but we're not. In my opinion, we got to get a lot better defensively. So I haven't told them that they're way better, because the metrics that I look at, we're not better. We have a lot of room for improvement. We probably force more turnovers, have more steals, but our points per possession are nowhere near where they need to be. That being said, you're playing a lot of young guys. Two things: playing smart and then sustaining our energy. We have got to get better at being the first team to the ball. We've done we've done a really good job in a lot of areas on getting our hands on balls, but then we get beat to the ball. It's a big play in the second half against Carolina. Jalen Hill had a deflection. Close game still, and they came up with the loose ball and got either a basket at the rim or an and one instead of us getting the loose ball and being on the break. It's kind of a microcosm of where we're at. Getting to the point where we're battling, we're playing hard, we fight around the post guy, we get the piece of the ball, but then we don't come up with it. So, it's just the areas where we still need to improve. Defensively, we're not anywhere where we need to be. To do what we want to do in our conference, we must improve defensively.
You mentioned Tiger specifically.
Go ahead.
Confidence. You talk about confidence with young people in such a fragile
I agree.
thing. So how do you build it with? There's always that risk of, breaking too.
Well, with a guy I think the reality, you've played enough games, and it's like, all right, look, guys, it's okay where we're at. Okay, we've got to be realistic with where we're at and who we are. Okay, and how how are you going to become a better player, and individually? How are we going to become a better team? And you got to be realistic. That's the key. You got to look in the mirror, and it's you're not playing against guys that look like your coach. You're playing against guys that look like Jalen Hill. It's just a lot harder to score playing against 22-year-olds that sat on the bench because they didn't know how to defend, sat on the bench at whatever school they're at because they weren't ready. And the guys that get to play for schools like at the high level are the guys that are older and that do things that the coaches have taught them. So you're not playing against guys that don't know how to defend, don't know how to help, don't know your strengths and weaknesses. So it becomes much harder, and you have to be on it. You can't just say, well, hey, my teammates don't throw me the ball enough. All that. So I'm a big believer in you got to get guys. Let's all deal in the truth. So now we can get better. That's the key. Individually and as a team.
You mentioned Tiger specifically earlier with regards to some of the freshmen. Kind of what's fresh on your mind about Tiger?
Well, guys said this a million times. He's an on-the-job training. It's tough. It's like you're playing a rookie quarterback, and it's just you got to live with it. My thing with him is you can't be afraid to fail. He obviously we need him out there. So, and he's in an on-the-job training situation. So I don't want him hesitant. We have got to be in our high major games. We've struggled to generate offense, and we don't have a lot of guys that can break the defense down and make the game easier on their teammates. And we need that. We got guys like Jules has worked really hard on making shots. Like we have guys that can finish around the rim, but somebody's got to get them an open shot. Somebody's got to get them an advantage and a drop-off pass. And there's not a lot of candidates. He's the guy on this team that can do that. So I need him to just keep trying to stay aggressive, keep working on recovering his speed and quickness, and being in a mindset of coach wants me to generate offense for our team. And I can't do it by standing around looking at other people. I mean, we again, you got to deal with the truth of who we are. That's my job. Who can generate offense for us? Not necessarily the basket, but just initiate offense, break a defense down. Jaime can do it, but he's got to improve his passing. He's a drive to score guy. Tiger's a guy that can do a lot. So just trying to empower him and keep him, in the mind, that he's got to be thinking about generating offense for our team. But it's a lot for him because now I'm asking him to play defense on the other end. And, the guy didn't play basketball and he didn't even practice till September. So conditioning's a big factor for him.
You mentioned getting extra work in the holiday break.
Yeah.
How did you kind of schedule the last few days for the guys in terms of what?
We were here Christmas night and we were here twice. We were basically here twice yesterday. So you watch more film. You can spend more time. You have a session where you're just walking. You're doing a lot of teaching. Then you can have another session where you're actually practicing. So it's the old advantage of the holiday break. It used to be a lot more. There were no mandatory 3-day offs. When I worked for Rick Pitino, I think back then though, Louisville played Kentucky on the 26th. So I remember we had three a days on Christmas Eve and Christmas. Yeah, so it was a little bit different. So now you have a little which I'm a believer in the mandatory off period. I think it's great for a lot of reasons. It's it's a humane thing to do, number one, and the other thing is it's a mentally freshening up for the guys. But then when you're back and we don't start school, so you don't have the days off restrictions. You don't have some of this. You still have restrictions. Not the old days, you didn't have any. But you get more time. The guys don't have to worry about academics, so you just some more teaching, more opportunity to teach. You're not going to practice. You can only practice and run them so much,
sure.
But you can do more mental stuff, which we need. We need to play a lot smarter at times.
What did you guys do Christmas night?
We
Any festivities in the practice, or was it just
no
straight basketball?
Yeah, I don't even think you're allowed to do it. We have a lot of weird rules.
Oh.
Like, we've had a lot of guys with birthdays lately, right? I mean, but you can't even, you can't, have a birthday cake for a guy. We have a lot of restrictive rules.
No.
Yeah.
NCAA
And obviously
is
it's
fun.
California, so it's not like we can have a religious celebration. You might be of the different religion, so you can't, it's not a whole lot you can do with that type of stuff, other than say, hey, Merry Christmas.
How's David Singleton progressing, and do you figure to have him more involved in the three-point shooting game?
It's got to get him open. Again, somebody's got to, the one thing Hans did a lot for David last year was he led the league in assists. So he's able to break a defense down. And, Wilkes was an elite scorer, so David was a guy open a lot. So us becoming a better passing team will help David. The more open shots you can get him, the better our offense is going to be. But again, it goes to, initiating of the offense. And our big guys, we got to keep working with them on their passing. Because people are doubling and tripling, jailing. Even Carolina, every time our big guys got it, they're just converging on them. So we worked here hard over the break with their passing. They've got to recognize when they're being swarmed, and they've got to be able to pass it. We got to be able to throw it inside out and make people pay. But it's an adjustment period for those guys.
Is David 100% or close to it?
Well, not right. No, he was sick over the break, so he has barely practiced here the last couple of days. He was down and out. So he tries to fight through it. He's a tough kid, but he was pretty bad. I think he lost weight. He lost a lot of weight.
Will he be okay for Saturday?
I hope so. Yeah, I think he's getting over it. When he came back, you lay in bed for 2 or 3 days. He had it pretty bad, I think.
How has the mental and physical toughness grown from this team since the first game to now? Was it up and down?
I think it's a work in progress. I think learning what toughness is. I think, at first they thought, it's just, our coach wants us to, push guys and rebound, and that's really not what it is. You got to be tough enough to remember the play. You got to be tough enough to, and this is a simple, the guy with the ball for us, that's where we got to be a lot tougher, our turnovers. The guy with the ball has got to display tremendous toughness and take care of that ball and be able to find the open man. We've got to display more strength with the basketball to be able to have success. We gave ourselves no chance to win against Carolina because we had no toughness with the ball in our hands. It's not always just going to get a rebound, but I think we're learning what I mean by what I say. Winners know why they win, and we're learning. We show them examples of other teams on. I talk to them about different guys, how you can change the whole dynamic of your team with a certain player, whether it was with Jason Kidd when he got on the Nets. It's an example I've given them. And they went from a bottom basement team to the NBA Finals just because he went in there and he took care of the ball and he set the tone with his defense and his toughness, diving in the stands for balls, and the guy's one of the best 50 players ever. So somebody an example. Somebody's got to be an example of that for us. So it's just defining toughness is the biggest thing for those guys. But they're trying.
A few weeks ago, the players said that you reference movies to get a point across. What are some of your most?
I think I'm getting older, so when I drop the movie lines on them, I don't think they have any clue what I'm talking about.
As long as the point is there.
People see me and they don't really know me. They see, I've dealt with this a lot in my career. They, because I'm very intense. I'm competitive to a fault. But I don't walk around like that 24 hours a day. So at times you got to bring levity to the practice situation a little bit. So, yeah, they just come out of me. I don't really even. So, yeah, we played Fullerton, and one of their players his name's is Van Zandt. So, you got to figure out what movie that's from. It was based in L.A. So they had no idea when his name came up, in the film. I brought it, right away I changed his first name to the movie character from Heat, Roger Van Zandt. So I do it all the time, but they miss it most of the time.
It's over their heads.
Well, they're young. I mean, you know, I'm dropping movie lines from 40. You got to remember, these guys were born in 2000. Some of these guys just, you know, turning 19 and 20. So I'm dropping movies from the 80s and 90s. They're looking at me like I'm nuts, or they just miss it.
Last question? That's good.
All right, guys. Thank you.
Thanks, Coach.
Have a good holiday.
You too.
See you tomorrow.
Yes.